Alright, welcome back, good people. This video I'm titling simply Fear. That's right. Now that could cover a lot of things, right? We all have fear of something, and we all have a habit of something that we do. Sometimes we have several habits. Sometimes we have several fears, right? You want to eliminate the fears as much as you possibly can, and if you have bad habits, you want to kind of eliminate those, right? That's how that works. But I'm going to share some things about fear with you today that you may or may not know. But this week I was doing research on health, and I discovered some things about anxiety disorders, some things about stress, and I figured I want to throw fear in there because fear has an effect on many people many different ways, right? We all have some degree of fear of something. So I'm not the expert here. This is not my area of expertise, but I wanted to share some of the things that I learned with you guys this week. Now it says fear, an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. That's one definition of fear. Another one, which is by Wikipedia, says fear is a feeling induced by perceived danger or threat that occurs in certain types of organisms, which causes a change in metabolic and organ functions and ultimately a change in behavior, such as fleeing, hiding, or freezing from perceived traumatic events. Now, you may have experienced all of those. I know I've experienced a couple of those from time to time, right? Now, some signs and symptoms. Many sociological changes in the body are associated with fear, summarized as the fight or flight response. Have you ever experienced a flight or fight response? That means you have to do something. You can't just not do something. You have to take action. You either have to stand there and fight or you have to run. You make the call, but standing there is not an option. All right, or doing nothing, I should say, is not an option. It also says, which is an inborn response for coping with danger. It works by accelerating the breathing rate or hyperventilating heart rate, constriction of the peripheral blood vessels, leading to blushing and vacillating of the central vessels, increasing muscle tension, including the muscles attached to, listen to this, each hair follicle to contract and cause goosebumps, or more clinically, piloerection, piloerection, making a cold person warmer or a frightened animal look more impressive. That's that deer in the headlight look they talk about. Sweating, increased blood glucose or hypoglycemia, increased serum calcium increase in white blood cells, alertness, leading to sleep disturbance and butterflies in the stomach. Now, some causes. People develop specific fears as a result of learning. You didn't know that, right? I didn't either. It says, this has been studied in psychology as fear conditioning, beginning with John B. Watson's Little Albert experience in 1920, which was inspired after observing a child with an irrational fear of dogs. It says, in this study, an 11-month-old boy was conditioned to fear a white rat in the laboratory. The fear became generalized to include other white furry objects such as rabbits, dogs, and even balls of cotton. Psychological, right? Conditioning. You can condition people, right? You can condition certain things to react certain ways. When I read that, I was like, wow, that reminded me of that Pavlov dogs story I heard. Remember that? I won't go into that, but you probably know it. Anyway, it says, fear can be learned by experiencing or watching a frightening, traumatic accident. For example, if a child falls into a well and struggles to get out, he or she may develop a fear of wells, a fear of heights, which is acrophobia, enclosed spaces, which is claustrophobia, or water, which is aquaphobia. There are studies looking at areas of the brain that are affected in relation to fear. When looking at these areas, it was proposed that a person learns to fear regardless of whether they themselves have experienced trauma or if they have observed the fear in others. Isn't that interesting? That is interesting, but that makes sense to me, because if I see you get bit by a snake, I'm afraid to get bit by a snake, so I don't have to see, it doesn't have to happen to me for me to be going down that path, right? And it says the top 10 types of fears in the United States. In a 2005 Gallup poll, a national sample of adolescent children between the ages of 13 and 17 were asked what they feared most. The question was open-ended and participants were able to say whatever they wanted. The top 10 fears were in order. Number 1, terrorist attack. Number 2, spiders. Number 3, death. Number 4, failure. 5, war. 6, criminal or gang violence. 7, being alone. 8, the future. And finally, nuclear war. Now, in an estimate of what people feared most, a book by author Bill Tanzer analyzed the most frequent online queries that involve the phrase fear of, following the assumption that people tend to seek information on the issues that concern them most. His top 10 list of fears published in 2008 consisted of flying was number 1, heights number 2, clowns number 3, intimacy number 4, death number 5, rejection number 6, people number 7, snakes number 8, failure number 9, and driving number 10. Isn't that interesting? I love to see analytics or statistics on things, because it opened my eyes to other things that people fear or people have issues with, right? That I didn't know. Like I didn't know people had a fear of driving, but I guess they would if you don't know how to drive, right? Or if you have had an accident and that have kind of crippled you in a form. Now the common phobias, according to the surveys, some of the most common fears are of demons and ghosts, the existence of evil powers, cockroaches, spiders, snakes, heights, water, enclosed spaces, tunnels, bridges, needles, social rejection, failure, examinations, and this one I had a fear of, public speaking. And finally, fear of death. Death anxiety is multi-dimensional. It covers fear related to one's own death, the death of others, fear of the unknown after death, fear of obliteration, and fear of dying, of the dying process, which includes fear of a slow death and a painful death. See, fear goes from beginning to end, doesn't it? When I heard that when we're born, there's only 2 things we fear, and that's falling and loud noises. So we have a fear when we leave, when we come in, and we still have a fear when we leave, right? And I don't know whether that's learned or whether, I know some of those are acquired, but I know fear is real in a lot of people, and we have to understand and deal with fear, because fear oftentimes is not meant to cripple us. It's just meant as a warning, like, ooh, 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 pay attention to this, right? Because sometimes it can, cause problems. Anyway, like this video, share this video, and I'll see you on the next video.